In order to create a test for the FireFlow Pro, we first need to create the test in our IMS software. In order to do that, we have to create a list of hydrants, create a test for each hydrant, then we'll create the work order that can be imported into the QSI handset. So the first thing we're going to do is click on our Hydrants button, and that's going to bring up a list of hydrants that we've already created in IMS. Now these happen to be the hydrants we're going to use in our export, but today I'm going to create a new hydrant to illustrate the ease of use of IMS in entering information in new hydrants. In order to do that, I'm going to click on this Add New Hydrant link at the top, which will take me to my first screen to add hydrant details. First thing we need to do is create a hydrant ID. So I'll click in this box and I'll type in, for this particular hydrant, we'll just call it Test 1. So now we have a new hydrant ID. If your city happens to use an asset ID, you can enter that here. If you know the installation date of the fire hydrant, you can enter it here. If you click on the down arrow, a calendar will open up, and you can scroll to the month and year of the installation date. This field right here is going to contain a date for the last time you had a work order related to this fire hydrant. So this isn't where you enter in any information. This will automatically populate the first time we import a work order. The status of this fire hydrant is active. And then next, you might want to put a description into the fire hydrant, just some basic information like, you know, dry barrel, or whatever your description might be. And then finally, if you have any comments regarding this fire hydrant, you can enter them here. The next thing we're going to do is put in the details of the fire hydrant. And we do that by clicking on this tab. And in here we can enter a lot of particular information about the fire hydrant. Manufacturer in this first box, we'll put in Mueller. The model ID, the hydrant paint color, call it yellow, vandal proof. We'll just put valve lock, restraint type, concrete, main size, if you know it, we're going to put 8-inch. 8-inch in here, buried depth, 6.5. Control ID. Now this would be the valve in front of your fire hydrant that turns the fire hydrant on or off. I'm going to select one from my list. The direction that the control valve is from the fire hydrant might be straight north of that fire hydrant, and the distance, 12 feet. This information in this box is your NFPA information. This isn't something you can add data to. When you go out and do your FireFlow test, this information will automatically fill in, and it's just here for you to visually see. And finally, if you want to upload an image of the fire hydrant, you can click on this button, Upload Image. That will open up a browse box where you can go and find that image to include with your hydrant details. Next, we're going to go and enter the location information, and we do that by clicking on the Location tab. If you already have GPS information on your hydrant, you can enter that into these first 5 fields. If not, the FireFlow Pro will capture GPS and automatically populate these areas. If you have GPS information in here, if you go back to the first hydrant tab, you'll see we have a map GPS and map address. If you click on those will take you to either an internet map like Google Earth, or it can be pointed at your GIS mapping system. So we have our GPS information. The next thing would be the street number. I'm just going to put 1, 2, 3 in here. I'm going to select Industrial Drive. If I start typing the first letter or first few letters and that street happens to be in the list, it will pop up automatically. The city, same thing. I'm going to type in Harrisburg. The location state is going to be South Dakota. And then finally the zip code. If you are using a different type of mapping system, you can enter your state planes, your X and Y coordinates. This particular field here is a cross street, so if you're on an intersection you can enter the cross street. And then general location might be on the north side of the street, mid-block. Any location notes you might want to add to that. District would be industrial. Subdivision, if you have one, you can enter it here. And location ID. And just to note, anywhere you see these plus signs, if the information you want to put in this field doesn't exist in your drop-down menu, by clicking on this, it will shortcut you to the setup menu where you can set up those different locations or devices. And then finally, if you have a special location ID, you can insert it here. And finally, the last tab in this setup screen is History. Now the History screen isn't anywhere you can add information, but as you create work orders and complete them, those different work orders will show up in a list on this page. So once the hydrant's created, once you've done some tests or repairs and submitted those work orders, you can come to this particular hydrant, click on the History tab. You'll see the list of work orders, and when you double click on the work order, it will open up the details of that work order plus a report.